Hello everyone and welcome to Blue Tengu's live game development show where we show everything that goes into making a game from concept to completion. If you've ever wanted to make a game, we hope this will help lower the barrier to entry, maybe give you the nudge you needed to try it yourself. Even if you didn't want to make a game, we hope you'll find some value in what we're doing here, at least some entertainment value. All the information about where you can find us is in the Twitch info down below or in our YouTube profile for those of you who are catching us later on YouTube. But just in case, we're at www.bluetengu.com, btengu on Twitter, facebook.com Bluetengu Studio, youtube.com Bluetengu Studio for those of you who are watching the live stream now, and Twitch TV Bluetengu for those of you who are watching us on YouTube now. And if you missed any episodes, you can always catch them over at YouTube, but you shouldn't have any trouble following along even if you haven't seen them. For those of you who haven't seen the show on Twitch or YouTube before, my name's Eric, and I'm a game designer living in Japan who's trying to show you everything that goes into making a game for 2 hours a week, including all of the ums and ahs and awkward debugging moments. And since my coffee is taking a little while to kick in on top of allergies and things like that, I may be a little spaced out for this episode, but we'll see. The reason I'm showing everything as opposed to making the game first and scripting out a rehearsed tutorial is because I want to lower the barrier you feel to making a game, and I hope inspire you to go out and try it yourself. And thank you to everyone who dropped by last week, and to all of those of you who have watched on YouTube. For those of you here with me on Twitch, feel free to drop suggestions or ask questions at any time. I may not be able to answer them right away because I am working, and especially in this episode, it'll be animation, so I'll be kind of focused in on the screen for a good chunk of the show. But I'll try to get to the questions that you ask, and if I can't, please send me a private message here, leave a comment on our site or YouTube video, and I'll do my best to address it next time. If any of you are out there making something and you don't mind showing it off, send me a link to your stuff. I'd like to see it. Anyway, at this time, every week for 2 hours, I come on Twitch TV to work on the game Project Spaghetti, which is a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fired bounce around the screen with a pinball mechanic. Last week I finally livened up the game a little bit with a few sound effects and particles, giving the player a little more feedback about what's going on in the game and how well they're playing. After the show I went in and brushed up the particles a little more to my liking. Didn't do too much though. I didn't really do much overtime this week. And this week, like I said, I'm going to jump into animation. While it still seems a little early to be worried about how the game looks, I'm not an artist and I'm even less of an animator, so I wanted to move some of those tasks forward because there's a little risk involved, and Agile is all about bringing risk forward to avoid problems later. The risk involved, for me anyway, is with how long I've estimated those animation tasks to be. Right now I think most of them are at about 2 hours a piece, which is basically a whole show. And as I have no idea how long it'll take me to animate a 2D character given my skills, I've only guessed about 2 hours a piece based on how long it took me to draw the rough character in the first place. But if by animating the basic walking pattern of our cowboy I can get a better grasp of how long it'll take to animate the rest of the cowboy and other characters, I can take that information and reflect it back into the rest of my animation tasks, making my estimate for how much work is left in the project a little more accurate. And as a nice side effect, it'll be nice to see the cowboy stretching his arms and legs a little bit. So let's head over to Trello. So let me jump to my desktop here and head on over to Trello. Trello.com, if you look for Trello and Project Spaghetti, you'll be able to find this site. I usually post the link in the video as well as in the YouTube video, so you can follow that if you want to, but probably the easiest way is to just Google Trello and Project Spaghetti and you'll come here. These numbers at the top you won't see unless you have the Scrum for Trello plugin activated, but otherwise everything will still show up as like numbers and parentheses. So episode 15, all I have here right now is just this 2-hour player animation movement task. It's at 2 hours because I have absolutely no idea how long it's going to take me to do, so I figured I'd make it a whole episode. It's a little more involved than, it sounds like at first glance. My game is pretty simple, so it's not like I have really complex animation going on, but in some ways the fact that the sprites are small and simple is going to make animation that much more difficult, because actually, well, let me show you the game here. so that you can see what I'm talking about. But so I go over into Game Maker, which is what I'm using to make Project Spaghetti. Open the project, and where I'm at right now is here. So as you can see, you know, nothing's moving, the characters aren't animated, they're just following kind of a path and a pattern. They do duck, I guess, so that is technically some sort of animation. But I want the character to actually look like they're looking left, looking right, because at the moment, you don't really know which way they're facing when they stop, so you don't know where they're going to fire the bullet. And same with the bad cowboys as well. You don't know where they're facing or where they're going to shoot. So animation is kind of important to gameplay in this case, but because those sprites that I'm using are really, really small, the amount of information that each pixel conveys is pretty dense, actually, so it's kind of hard to fudge it a little bit. You have to be kind of precise. And as I said at the top of the show, I'm not a pixel artist or an animator in any way, shape, or form, so this may be quite tricky for me. But let's jump into the task. So I've got Photoshop open. This is my player. The original, you know, I made the gun gray because I think it's gonna conflict with like his vest and other things too if I just keep it the same color. And I did add a few, you know, basic, you know, if he's seen from the back, he'll look like this. If he's going to the upright, maybe he'll look like this. Front, maybe he'll look like this. You know, I did add some basic drawings to give me some reference when I'm doing this. But the problem is going to be there's not a whole lot of room to work with because it is a very tiny character and I blow it up later to get that kind of retro look going. So this will definitely test my skills, and you know, it might be a slow episode because it's just me, you know, moving pixels around, staring at it and going, no, not quite, and then going in and fixing it again. And probably at some point it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be rough, and I'll just throw it into the game, see what it looks like, because there has to be some game logic as well to keep track of all of those states. And what I mean by that is, like for example, you'll have walking state, shooting state, dying state. You know, you have all these states, and it needs to be able to go back and forth between them. And in addition, the walking state is going to have, you know, whether they're walking up, to the right, you know, these directions. And then for these directions, it's just going to be, you know, a mirror of what's going on with these ones. So theoretically, I have to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of animations just to get it walking. In terms of how many frames of animation, I did post about this on the site a little bit, but how many frames of animation is actually kind of important to the character. In this case, I don't think I can get away with just, you know, the basic frame and then the movement frame or whatever, because he does have feet and he moves in 8 directions, so there's going to be a difference. Let's see, this isn't a very good example, but like from here, if he's moving down, there's going to be a difference between, you know, moving his left foot up, moving his right foot up, left foot up, right foot up. So I can't get away with just currently walking, standing still, currently walking, standing still, like you could in a game with pixel graphics this simple that's just a side scroller. So it is a little bit more work, but let's get started. Let's do one of the easier ones first, back. So May not be too chatty this episode, which might be fine with some of you, but the way I'm going about this right now is I'm just going to duplicate layers and say 0, 0 is the default state, 0, 1 is the moving state, and then 0, 2 is probably just going to be a copy of the default state, and then 0, 3 is going to be, the other foot, for example. So I should probably decide right off the bat whether he's always starting with his right foot or his left foot forward. I suspect, if he's holding his gun in his right hand, he's right-handed, so probably moves with his right foot first. So let's do that. So I do have a copy, back one. And at least these ones are going to be pretty simple. And let's see, people don't just hold their arms out steady and then walk with their feet, so I'm going to have a little bit of arm movement as well. How do I want to convey that? This is where it would actually be very helpful if I was an artist. So I'm just going to be kind of winging this. But let's see. If you move with the right foot forward, your right arm's going forward, your left arm's going back. But let's see. Maybe I should keep this arm as it is, or make it longer to indicate that it's backwards. Yeah, that should be all right. And then back two. I don't really want to make a back two that's just the same picture, because if I want to go in and edit it, I don't want to have to edit two pictures. So I'm just going to skip to back 03, which is moving the other foot. Yeah, and this one goes longer. And then back 4 doesn't exist because it loops back to back 0. So that should, cover that. If you're working, I already have the animation window up here, and I'm not used to using it in Photoshop, so I always forget exactly how to do this properly, but yes, delete that frame. If you go into, I think, Window, it depends on which version of Photoshop you have. I have CS2, but if you go into Window, Animation, it brings up this animation window. And what you can do is pop that in. Duplicate the frame, switch it to the next one, duplicate the frame, switch it to the next one, duplicate the frame, switch it to the next one, and you should be able to just hit play with this, and hopefully it works. Yeah, that's not bad. It's tolerable. Let's see. Yeah, that's workable. I was kind of wondering if I had to double up like the shoe size or whatever to indicate that his feet are going back. Might be worth doing that. I don't know, let's just see what it looks like first. Yeah, because one of the things with animation is, Disney and everyone else have mastered the art of it, but you don't want your characters to just be boring. You want them to have as much movement as possible. So, even subtle things like whether you show his shoes as going up and down like this, or whether you show the shoes with pixels going like this, that's more movement, so it does look more active. Yeah, I think I like that better. So let's see what it looks like. Yeah, it definitely looks like he's got more of a pendulum working on the ground there. So I think I'll go with that for the back animation. And make sure I save it here. Next is front. I'm doing the easy ones first. The hard ones are obviously going to be, like as any grade schooler who's trying to draw people understands, drawing people and things at angles is much more difficult than drawing them straight on. Even human civilization started with drawings that are straight on, so might as well tackle the easy tasks first. Front is him coming down, so everything has to be kind of reversed. In this case, he's still moving with his right foot first, then left foot, so I just have to switch which side I start with. So, since he's moving his right foot forward, yeah, how weird's that gonna look? Is it gonna just look like his foot is disappearing? Possibly. Yeah, let me delete these frames here because I'm gonna do a different animation later. Okay. So right now from the back, the easy thing to see. Oops. Well, that'll teach me. There we go. From the back, you can see his shoe coming up, so from the front, theoretically, you shouldn't be able to see that shoe. But that's going to look kind of weird. It's just going to look like his leg got lopped off, so probably do want to have that there just to represent maybe the tip of the shoe or something. So he's lifting his right forward. Just have to make sure I mirror the same thing with back here. So in this case, his right arm is going down, so I need to do that with this as well. Let me just double check. The gun. The one holding the gun is coming up. So I need to bring this arm up and this one down. Okay, bring the gun up a bit. Okay, so that should be okay for front. It may look a little bit weird. Like from behind it looks fine that his hand is there and the gun is off to the side. But from the front it looks kind of weird. Almost like he's got like a police baton or something on his side, so it might be better to actually have this gun over his hand, but that's a decision I'll make later. Because at least that's easy to change. So again, I'm just going to use front 0, 0 for the third frame. And so I'm going to skip straight to the fourth one. And this time I need to do the opposite. So this side, well, I guess based on the camera, this side needs to go up. Which means that foot needs to come up. And the gun arm needs to go down. Okay, that should be alright. Let's try this out. So duplicate the frame, switch to 1, duplicate the frame, switch back to 0, duplicate the frame, switch up to 4. Now let's see what that looks like. Yeah, the gun is bugging me a little bit, but in terms of his motion, he's fine. If he didn't have a gun, it would look fine. Yeah, it's something I'm going to have to think about. As if from behind too, then I would if his gun was on top of his hand, then from behind, theoretically, it should just be those 2 pixels that are coming out from the bottom. Yeah, it might be worth doing it that way. I don't know. The only problem, visually it'd be better to do that. The only problem I have is that where the gun is kind of information for the player, so I don't want my default to be to just shrink it down to 2 pixels or something. So I'm gonna go with this and throw it in the game, see what it looks like, and if it bugs me, then I'll change it. So for now I'm going to keep it. So that's front. So I've got the, of those directions that I showed. Probably should keep those out there. Of those directions I showed. I've got this one and that one done. The next easier one to do is going to be going right, probably. His feet are a little bit too big there, so let's do that. Okay, this one's going to be trickier because there's going to be things going off at an angle. It's not just moving things up and down. But let's give it a shot. So again, he's going to be moving with his right foot forward, so his right foot and right arm are going up, and his left arm is going back. Looking from this direction, that means the gun arm is going to be coming up at an angle, while the arm that you can't see right now is going to be coming kind of out of his back. And feet-wise as well. Since there's no shading or anything, it's probably going to be feet-wise, it's going to look the same between this right 01 and right 03. And I do have to be careful not to bring the gun up too much because there's also a shooting animation, and I don't want to make it look like he's shooting. So let's give this a shot. What should I do? Should I start with the gun? Yeah, the gun might be a good place to start. So if I swing it up there, yeah, that might not be too bad. Oops. So 1. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Probably should get used to using keyboard shortcuts in Photoshop. So I'm using X to switch the colors out. And then he's no longer got his gun there, so that's that. From this zoomed in picture, it's kind of hard to see where his arm is, but when you shrink it down, it looks alright. And then I want his legs to come out too. So that one, move that 2 to the left, move that 2 to the right, just as a starting point. And then kind of get the legs to follow. It's really hard to see with this Photoshop like empty background thing. Let me, I don't know, red be a good color now. I need to use a color that I'm not using in here, so let's just try this wheat gray, just so I can kind of see what it looks like. Yeah, maybe I should move the feet out a little bit more. That'll give me a little more room to work with. Oops. I don't want to go that high, do I? So I guess that means I don't want those pixels. And I'm sure those of you pixel artists out there are probably screaming like, what the heck is this guy doing? Sorry, I'm not very good at this stuff. But that's why I'm doing it early. Okay, it's kind of hard to tell, but looking down at this animation, looks like the left foot and the right foot just need to be kind of shifted back a little bit. Looks like he's putting too much weight on his front foot there. So let's shift both of these back. I'll just copy and paste. See what that looks like. Yeah, in terms of balance, looking at this animation slide at the bottom, actually it's kind of hard for you guys to see that probably. So I'll move the animation to the top. So yeah, looking at the animation, this looks more balanced. It looks like he's keeping his balance here. The left foot might be going back a little too far now. So let's see. Probably do want to bring it out forward a little bit and get rid of some of these. Yeah, his leg's way too fat now. Yeah, there's just always this one point where there's like a pixel too much or too little. Looks kind of gross. Oops. Oh, that's right, I pasted, so let's merge these again. Okay, so that's what it looks like now. There's obviously too few pixels out there. So let's put one in there. That looks more or less alright. I guess I should give him 4 pixels for his feet, because that looks right up here anyway. Yeah, it's not too bad. I think his foot needs to get back though. Yeah, because looking at this smaller version, this looks a little more well balanced than what I've got going. And one other thing I forgot to do is I have to have his left hand swinging out from behind his back, so should be the same position. right? Judging on this, that looks alright. His feet look alright. I do need one more there, don't I? There we go. That looks alright. Okay, now that looks like he's in mid-walk. Kind of worried about these pixels over here, but it should be okay. So let's see, that's fine. I just need to get rid of that gray that I was using for reference. Turn it transparent again. And I think that'll be my right slide. And again, right 2 is just going to be this one. So right 3 is going to be very similar to this one, except his hands are going to be different. So his gun now has to come out this side, and his left hand has to be this side. His feet, because there's no, there's no lines or anything to indicate where the pant legs are or anything like that, the legs are basically the same. So that part of it's kind of like a two-frame animation. So first thing is to get this gun to swing out this way. So 1, 2, 3, and then bring that up there. Give him back his vest. Get rid of the gun from that hand. And I'm starting to think that I should bring this hand forward a little bit, because he should have the same shoulder joint. And right now, it's kind of skipping back and forth. So I do want to move this over. So 1, 2, 3. Oops. Hopefully I remember where everything was. And then the gun comes out like that. And then I have to get rid of the extra stuff. Okay, yeah, that's going to look better. And then I have to fix this hand as well. So that hand needs to go okay. Let's just put it like that. Okay, so that should be fine, but this is an animation I should probably test. So let's get rid of these frames. And start off with him at a standing state. Make him move there. Make him back in the standing state. And make him move there. So let's see what this looks like. Yep, it looks alright. Okay, good. And so, now that I've got the easy ones out of the way, so that covers moving right, which also covers moving this way. Now I have to work on the hard ones, diagonals. And diagonals are really hard with pixels to get right because, especially with pixels, something this small, it's hard to get right because suddenly everything that looks nice, from the side profile is at an angle, so it just looks like a bunch of little like jaggy twigs coming out, but it's going to look like that here, but up at here in the animation window it's going to look fine. It's just going to make it that much harder to draw though. So let's start with upright. So as it is now, I've got him starting with the right. Okay, so at least looks-wise it's fine. Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, though. Because if this foot is coming back, and this foot is going forward, he'd probably end up doing the Jean-Claude Van Damme and doing the splits because he's got nothing on the ground. So I do need to fix the image a little bit. Just to make sure that I do have the original, though. I'm going to keep a copy of it. Because up here it looks right in a way, but it's definitely not the right way to go about it. So let's see. If his right foot is moving forward, well, I guess you could consider it his heel coming back like this. So if his heel's coming back like this, I guess it would still be 2 pixels tall. It's just this right foot forward has to be coming forward, not at an angle. Unless you consider his right foot coming forward to be like this. Maybe it's not as weird as I think it is. How big is his waist in other pictures? His waist is usually... That's not a good one. Well, his waist is usually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across. But because he's at an angle, he fattens out a little bit. Yeah, I hate diagonals. Wow. Alright, let's see what this looks like. That looks a little better. Even just that 1 pixel makes a difference. It does now look like his foot's coming like this. This one... Should I fiddle with this one? Yeah, it's not too bad. Just to check where his hands are. How bright's that? Okay, so when his hand is forward as far as it comes all the way down to his waist, which is what this one's doing. And let me make sure that he's still got the same body height here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, yeah, that's fine. And maybe it's worth getting rid of this. Unless that makes him too thin. Yeah, that makes him too thin. It's a little weird. Yeah, just looking at this smaller version up here, this looks alright. Having kind of expanding his waistline because he's taking up more space by being at a diagonal. Next thing is going to be the arm and whether that looks weird. It looks a little fat. And again, I have to be careful with the gun because this is probably what it's going to look like when he's shooting because the gun is up. So I don't want it to be pointing up. So I do need to fix that as well. How would it look like? It would be pointing down. Let's just bring his hand down here. And it's usually down there by the waist, so I'm going to go with the same thing I do with the other pictures. I'm just going to have the gun going at an angle. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's not too bad. That works. His right foot's going forward, his right arm's going forward, left arm's coming back. Might look like his left arm is coming back a little too much, though. Kind of hard to say on that without seeing him in motion, but my suspicion is that it's coming back too far. Maybe not. Maybe it was alright. Do it like that. Yeah, because if it's at an angle, it's not coming all the way down to his waist, probably. Yeah, when you're doing pixel art, little things like this can take a lot of time. Just little decisions about one pixel here, one pixel there. So, sorry for those of you guys who are watching this and not finding this very interesting. I do have time codes usually in the YouTube videos, so you can skip ahead if you want to see me actually implementing the animation. But for now, it's, making games is a lot of long work, so there are times like this. Yeah, I need to put a background in here so I can see what he looks like. Yeah, because when I do this, it definitely looks weird. There's a lot of weirdness. Like, for example, his vest. Probably. It's coming out too far. I guess I should mirror what I'm doing with that. It definitely helps to use a different color background to get these things right. So this is already starting to look better. I don't want to do that. Yeah, it just looks like his arm is broken up here, so that's not the right way to go about this, is it? Maybe I do have to bring his arm a little further away. Maybe it's worth moving his arm up, actually. I mean, it's a little too much motion there. So now if I shift everything right, 1, 2, 3, right. Let's see. can't have these things being just 45-degree angles because it looks weird. Yeah, that's about right, looking at this picture. And so I should probably add a little bit more there too. And maybe as well I should do that to indicate he's going up and to the right. It's not bad. Okay, let's keep that one for now, and let's actually work on what it looks like when he doesn't have his arms swinging. In that case, his arms are going to be at his side, and he's up and to the right. So you won't really be able to see his right arm. So he's facing that way. This is something where if I had like a little like artist's figure or something, it'd be a little easier to think about. Use a USB stick. So if he's like that, if he's pointing to the upper right, that means I can see the right arm, but I can't see the left arm when he's in his normal state, which might actually influence this as well. That might be why this is always looking weird to me. Like maybe it should be that. Which one was right? Yeah, it's coming out of his neckline basically, so it's fine to shift everything to the right one because he is at an angle. One, two, three. It looks like he's going backwards, isn't it? No, it was better the way it was before, wasn't it? So let's undo all that. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to have to be careful when I do upright 3. So when he's standing still, it's pretty much going to look a lot like when he's standing to the right. May even be able to get rid of his arms altogether. Oops. I just hope that the nose kind of indicates that he's going to the right. Let's see, when his feet are down, it's fine that they're down, but I do still have to have him at a bit of an angle. Needs a little bit of an angle going to him, doesn't he? Which also means I need to give him a little bit of an angle here too. And that's probably too high. Yeah, I need to do the same thing with the shoes, don't I? But now the shoes have to both be doing the same thing, probably. So something like that. You probably would be able to see his hand back here. Yeah, maybe I do need to move his hand out. Yeah, it's definitely the little things that make him look like he's going up and to the right. Like, this just seems like a little too much. Okay. Getting there. Guess if he's at an angle, you would always see his other hand, too. It's just not out as much. And actually, this hand is in the wrong place, isn't it? Because it needs to be near his waist. Yeah, one thing I'm doing right now is an easy way to kind of see where things are wrong if you start to get lost is to get rid of things. It's like when I delete that pixel, it's like, wow, he looks weird. Why does he look weird? Well, he's missing a pixel here. So that's one thing you can do with pixel art. Not that I'm an expert on this stuff, but that is one thing you can do. Theoretically, his right arm should be doing something similar to this one. Which means two there, and then a hand there. So get rid of that pixel. Okay. I just kind of want it to look, it's like I'm trying to find that angle between 45 and 90 that looks right with this gun, because this is too diagonal, but then if I start bringing pixels over here, it starts to look like the gun's been snapped in half, which is not good. Maybe it just has to be like that. Now it looks a bit snub-nosed. Now maybe I just have to kind of live with it looking like that. Yeah, because I'm gonna have to do the same thing there too. So I just kind of have to live with it looking like that. So just kind of too near the hand and then it breaks, basically. Yeah, yeah, that looks more natural. I mean, it doesn't look natural zoomed in, but it looks more natural up here. Okay. So that's the rest state. That's when he's moving his right arm forward. Now I need one for when he's moving his left arm forward. So I will use 0, 1 as a reference. Whew, see where that gets me. In this case, if he's moving it forward, if he's moving it backwards, it's going to kind of cross his body. Which means these pixels are going to be like this. And I guess I kind of want him to do the same thing, don't I? I don't want him to be like ridiculously angled. So I want that. Oops. That, that. And then a hand there, there. And then this hand would probably be out here. Oops. Yeah, his arm is going back a little bit too far, so let's bring this stuff to the right. See if that helps it look more natural. What did it look like before? Okay, I've got 1 pixel, so I need to shift 2 sets of pixels to the right. Let's get rid of them first so it makes it easier. So 1, 2, 1, 2. And then his hand needs to be here. And his gun needs to come over. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Better. Now it just looks like his arms might be too much that way, so maybe I should get rid of this sleeve here. That looks a little weird. Looks like he's unzipped his fly and is letting things go if I don't have a sleeve thing there, so let's make sure that's there. And the feet should look different as well, because it's not just moving to the right, because he's not going to be just constantly moving his right foot forward, he's going to be moving his left foot forward too. So he has to move His right leg has to kind of look like that. And then since his left foot is coming forward, left foot's coming forward, his right foot's going back. And now it looks like he's going up, so it still has to keep that angle. Still has to keep that angle going. So here it looks fine because it's like this. Yeah, they would be kind of on the same plane, wouldn't they? And the right foot has to have where it's scrunching against the ground. Left foot forward, which means the right foot's coming back like this. Left foot forward, right foot back. You know what, I'm going to take a quick break while I think about this one. Hello everyone, I'm back from my break. Thank you for waiting. For those of you on YouTube, it was probably just a quick fade. Right now what I'm doing is hopefully trying to figure out how to get this guy looking like he's walking to the upper right. Once I do that, I have to go through this painful process for making him go down right as well, and then once I have those done, I should be able to get to actually putting them into the game. Right now the problem I'm having is how to make it look like he's actually going to the upper right, because the problem is because he's facing to the upper right, his left foot is theoretically further down even though it's going forward. So it kind of looks like a jumbled mess if I try to represent that here. So maybe I should do something more extreme. Let's get rid of these pixels for now and just try to think of it from scratch. Like, what would it look like if he was moving up and to the right? Because I would imagine his right leg would probably come back something like this. If his right leg is back, then it's probably got like the angle on it as well. So it would come forward. Something like that. And then on the other hand, his left foot would be forward, so it's almost like his legs are just crossing each other. Let's keep this simple first, otherwise I'm gonna mess myself up, so let's get rid of that. Let's keep it simple. His legs, ordinarily from like the front view, for example, where's my front view? They're basically two sticks of 2x4 pixels, and it's basically like he's walking on a pair of 2x4s, which means I should probably keep that going with here as well. So it always looks like he's got a 2x4. Something like that. And his right leg would be another set of 2x4s going like that. That's a little bit too much. Yeah, that's definitely a better direction anyway. So let's just see what this sprite looks like animated first, because that'll probably give me some hints too as to where I should go next with this. So first thing is up and to the right. Duplicate the frame, up and to the right. Duplicate the frame, this one again, and duplicate the frame, that last one. Alright, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of problems here with both the arms and the legs. First off, with the arms, he's got a lot of swing on upright 0, 1, so way too much swing. So let's fix one problem at a time here. Let's fix one problem at a time. He's got way too much swing going on there, so let's bring these arms in first. Don't mean a thing if he's got too much swing. And bring the gun in too. Okay. So that should fix one problem. Let's see what it looks like now. Oops. Guess it screws up the way this thing does animation. Okay, let's start the animation over again. Duplicate, go with 1, duplicate, go with 0, duplicate, go with 3. Okay, let's see. Well, that's not quite right either, because now it looks like his arms aren't moving. So they do need to go forward a little bit. Yeah, I've basically just created the same arms that I have for the one thing. Which probably means when he's at rest, his arm should be straight down, right? So that means I have to fix this one. So let's bring his arms in at rest. Let's see if that looks any better. Okay, so that's upright 1, upright 2, upright 0, upright 3. Okay, now it looks like his arms are swinging properly. Okay, so now it's just the feet I should have to concentrate on. And I think I see one thing I can fix with the feet, which is instead of this being in front, it should be in back. It should be something like that. Let's see, his right arm is back, which means his right foot is back, which means this has to come down further. Yeah, let's get rid of the left leg and start thinking about this one over again. I might even have to shave a little bit off of his hip here. Oops. So now it looks like his right leg is back and he's got his foot on the ground like that. Angle might be a little too sharp. Now it just looks like he's crossing his legs. Oh, wow. Alright. That's kind of tricky because there's no shadow I can use to show that this leg's crossing over. It's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, maybe I should just use the same legs as I use here then. In a way. In this one it makes sense because his right leg is going up. So let's copy this just to give us a starting point. And bring this down. And this up. Let's see if that looks any better. And using the same principle as the right foot, that's going to look like that. That's going to look like that. That's going to look like that. And then on the other foot, it's going to be 3 across and 2 down. 1, 2, 3, then that. That. Nah, it still doesn't look right. Wow, diagonals are hard. At least for me without my experience. It's really hard because there's no line to indicate where the pant legs are crossing, so if I do it naturally, it's going to look a little weird. What does he look like at rest? Maybe I should be working with these legs instead as a base. Okay, so let's work with these as a base for now. See if that helps me get any closer to where I'm trying to go. Because in this case, if his right foot is forward, that means it's being scrunched. So like that. And if his left foot is going forward, something like that maybe. I'm just back to where I was. Maybe I should get a little bit more of an angle on that to spread the legs out. Wow, this is killing me. This is killing me. I'm definitely not cut out for pixel art. Ah, okay, so when he has just normal legs, they look like that. Definitely feel free to skip ahead to when this is done. Let's see. There we go. Okay, I think that's closer. It's closer to where I need to be. Yeah, looks better with this like that, doesn't it? At least it's starting to look like his right leg is back. It's just that I have to bring it over. But when I bring it over, everything's going to look all smooshed together. Because right now it looks like he's kind of twisted. Well, let's see what happens when I bring it over. The center of balance is weird. And I also have to bring this leg forward and show that it's coming out like that. So his right leg is coming down like that. And his right foot is going back like that. Yeah, that's not too bad. It looks really weird zoomed up, but when I look at the animation, it doesn't look too bad. So let's see what these look like together. Okay, so start with that, duplicate, oops, let's get rid of that again. Start over here. Okay, start with that, duplicate, move to that, duplicate, move back, duplicate, and the end, and hit play. Yeah, almost. Almost. There's just something off. This is starting to hypnotize me. There's something off, and it's just the length of the legs that's off, because the animation that or the frame that I just made has them scrunched up while the other frames are all kind of the same length, which is a little unnatural. Which makes me think I want to fix this. Makes me think I want to fix this one. Oops. Like bringing this one up. Even though it's not quite right. No, I fixed the wrong one, didn't I? I'm going to fix this one. Okay, let's see what this looks like. It's tough because when I try to do the natural thing, it looks weird because I don't have pant legs, visible pant legs, so it just kind of becomes a white blob, but shouldn't theoretically have to worry about that because the imagination should take over, but it's just looking weird. Gonna have to stand back for this one. So this is right foot forward, right foot back, left foot forward, back, left foot forward, left foot back. So left foot back needs to change a little bit. Now maybe if I expand it out, it'll be okay. So I want a pixel thing like this. Yeah, that's a little too much. Yeah, that's too much. Okay, let's give this another shot. Duplicate 1, duplicate 0, duplicate 3, and play. And the last thing I think I need to fix is I also have to shave off the hips a little bit for the angle in this one. Because otherwise it looks like he's just... So I've got 5 at the waist there, so I should have 5 at the waist there. And I shave off there. So I should shave off here. Except for the leg that's doing the work. Wow, angles suck. I'm going to try one more time working with this as a base. Sorry about this. Not my forte. It's the problem with making a game without anyone helping out who knows their stuff. Which one was I going to copy? I was going to copy this one. I want to copy this one over this one. And the difference is I'm going to want these two blocks to be out here. And I'm going to want those blocks to be forward. Like that. So there's 3 and then 2. 3 and 2, 3 and 2. Two across on top of 3 down. 2 across on top of 3 down. So 2 across on top of 3 down. Wow, this is probably just something I'm going to have to think about for a while. It's probably not worth focusing on it too much. But this is starting to look alright. It's the left leg back. You should just see the sole of the shoe, while the right foot forward should see the 2 things here and then 1 back here. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with this for now. It's definitely not good, but I think I do have to get moving, and I can worry about the rough animation later. So, at least now it does kind of look like he's at least stepping back with his... see, he's moving forward with his right arm, stepping back with his left. There. He's stepping back with his right there. That one looks fine now, actually. So stepping back with his left, which means they should actually be a little further back, shouldn't they? And then bring this all down. Like that. Okay. Yeah, that's looking much, much better. I should probably even add an extra one there. Maybe shave off this one. Might be overkill. Okay, yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. Alright, I'll go with that. So thank you for waiting while I went through all of those. Let's get rid of all the backgrounds here, so I don't need them for reference anymore. And if that wasn't fun enough, let's move this down here. If that wasn't fun enough, now I have to do the down right angle, so that's going to be fun too. Maybe it'll be easier. So for down right, what do I want to use for that? Probably front as a base. So duplicate front. Or do I already have a down right somewhere? I do already have a down right. I don't want to delete that. It's not too bad. Would I want to start over? What does my upright look like again? It's got just a little bit of a nose, so one thing I would have to change about these things is I'd have to shave off some of that nose. And probably have to move it down too. So that's step one. Step two is getting the legs to be at an angle this way this time. The arms are actually looking alright. They're just kind of moving to the right though. So they're almost at his waist, it looks like, in this one. he's down and to the right foot's always going to be lower than the left foot. So that would require bumping this up. As a start. This is actually not even downright 0, 0. It's downright like 0, 1 and 0, 3. 1, 3, probably. Let's see, this one he's got his right arm forward, which means this one's actually 1. And this one's 3. Oops, this one's 1. There we go. Yeah, because when his right arm is back, that means his right leg is back. And his left leg is forward. So I suspect we're going to have a similar situation to what I just did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So first thing is to make the right leg look natural by coming back. And then this leg. It's to look like that, right? I do need my base where he's not swinging his arms either. So if he's not swinging his arms, that's going to look a lot like this one. Actually, I should probably move these up there so I can use them for reference. Okay, when he's not swinging his arms, his legs are apart, and they've got 2 pixels for the heel, 1 pixel for the tip of the shoe. The only difference now is that they're not going up, they're going this way. And it has to look like his legs are going down and to the right, so this pixel has to, first off, be down like that. Can't have the pixel going up. Okay. And then his arm has to be just down, because it's not going anywhere. And that means the gun has to go with it. And if it's straight down, that means it's just X number of pixels. 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And his left arm shouldn't even appear. Well, now it looks like he's going right, so it does have to actually appear. Alright, so it does have to be there, and I still have to do that same trick that I did before with that. And this arm has to come down at an angle like this, so that his hand is here. Let's get rid of his arm first, so it makes it easier to see. And also, I'm going to have the vest be here too. So this has to be like that. This has to come down like that. And then his arm has to end up here. So 1, 2, 3, 2 is not too bad. Yeah, it's a little too much. Let's use my USB stick again. If it's facing this way, then you'd be able to see the shoulder and then the arm kind of coming out like this to his side. So I wasn't too far off, but I think the hand is too far. This one needs to go up. Because by tilting this way, I'm seeing more of the right side of him. What was I doing for the static on upright 0? No, his gun was straight on that one, so let's make it straight on this one too. And that should give us a base. I need to fix the vest on this one. Let me copy this since it looks pretty good. I don't want to mess it up and not be able to get back to it. This arm has to be further back too, doesn't it? Or does it? It's coming out of the middle, so I guess that's fine. Oops. it's pretty good having that gap there. So it should be like his arm is coming over his vest here. Yeah, so this arm needs to go back a little bit. Which means his hand has to go back. And the gun has to go back. So assuming that's his arm there. So he needs to have the shoulder in the same place. Since it's up and to the right. It's going to look like his shoulder is higher than usual, actually. So it's going to be up to his neck, probably. Yeah, probably. Looks a little weird when I do that, though. This is quite tricky. Nothing looks quite right. That one looks okay. Let's fill it in and see how it looks. Oops. Yeah, not his jacket. As a base, it seems like this thing should be at an angle, but I'm not doing that here. It's up, am I? Two pixels down and a pixel to the right. this case, it should be 2 pixels down and a pixel to the right again. Okay, I think I'm going to run with these just so I can get them implemented in the actual game itself. And I can worry about what they look like afterwards. I can fix them as they go because I'm sure once I start seeing them in game, it's going to be very obvious what looks weird, as opposed to here trying to squint at things and figure out what looks weird. It's good enough for what I need to do, I suppose. I am coming to the 2-hour mark, and I think that implementing a state machine that has all these different directions and stuff for the character, as well as exporting all these files to PNGs, each layer by layer by layer, exporting it to PNGs. There might be a script I can make for Photoshop to do that anyway. So I think I am actually going to cut it off for this week and just say, implementation, split that task out. So it was good that I did this in advance, because as you can see over here on Trello, with Agile, I estimated player animation movement to be a 2-hour task. To be honest, I think when I first made this task, I was only thinking of the drawing part anyway, so yeah, it's probably accurate. The only thing is I also have to do an implementation, so that is something that's left over. So player animation system, and that's probably also going to take a pretty good chunk of time, because I'm also going to cover all of these things as well, and that is game design. So lesson learned, I should split the tasks out a little more carefully rather than grouping them up like that. So player animation system, that's going to be what I'm going to do next week. So let's bring that over here. If Trello lets me, come on, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to do the player animation system next week, and since dying is not that much work, and dodging's actually done in a way. So let's group all these together for next week. And for this week, I'm going to call it, basically what we got done was, over here in Photoshop, for the most part, these different animations, it looks fine for right and left, up and down. It's just those diagonals. And I'm not that great of a pixel artist because I haven't been doing it that long, since I'm a game designer, not an artist. And so it did cause me a lot more trouble than I expected. But I should have expected a lot of trouble, and that's why I did have it at 2 hours for a whole episode. So that is what this episode is going to be. So stick around next week to see the implementation, or next episode if you're watching this on YouTube. And let me jump off the desktop. So thank you for watching. I do this every week, 2 hours, Saturday morning in Japan anyway. Green screen just popped up on me because my camera got confused. But I do this for 2 weeks every week, every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Japan time, which translates to, if daylight savings time hasn't kicked off yet, or hasn't stopped yet, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time for those of you in the States, which means starts at 5 Mountain, 6 Central, 7 Eastern, runs for 2 hours. If you're in the UK, It's midnight on that cusp between Friday and Saturday for 2 hours. If you're in Japan here with me, it's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Saturday morning. If you're in Australia, it's around 9 to 11 start time, depending on where you live, and New Zealand is noon. You can find us over at www.bluetengu.com. Btengu on Twitter. You can follow us, and I always announce when I'm coming on Twitch and doing things and putting up videos, etc. So it's definitely the best way to follow what we're doing. And also, let's see, what else? Facebook.com, Blue Tengu Studio, and for those of you watching this later on YouTube, you can come over to Twitch and watch us at Twitch TV Blue Tengu. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if we're on, you should get a little announcement that we're on. But thank you for watching as I painfully struggle to draw a diagonal character. Hopefully I can implement that diagonal character next week. And I will see you next time.